that. We have risen from the ashes to school the masses. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Scholars of Wrestling Show, episode 501. I'm your man behind the microphone and your current reigning Scholars of Wrestling world champion. I am Scholar Jeff. Joining us this week, as always, the OG Undisputed Scholar himself. He is Scholar Tarek. Scholar Tarek, how you doing tonight, sir?
Like you said in the intro, we are at 501. We are at the beginning of the new next 100 episodes of Scholars of Wrestling. I'm already starting to count down to episode 600. I'm super pumped. And when it comes to this week in wrestling, TV show may not have been grabbing on that newsworthy, but there is still plenty to talk about backstage
Oh yeah,
in the world
it's
of wrestling, and
definitely.
it's actually very intriguing stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's a lot of the calm before the storm, but this, like Jade Cargill's intro says, a storm is absolutely coming. And speaking of a storm, last but certainly not least, you know him, you love him. He is your AEW Collision World Champion, allegedly. He is Scholar Pete. Scholar Pete, how you doing tonight, sir?
As I live and breathe. Hello, gentlemen. How are you this evening?
Is that a new tagline I'm hearing? As I live and breathe? Is that going to
Uh,
go on a t-shirt?
all I know is my tag team partner. I've been saying that if you check out fans, if you've watched the last month, you've noticed that every time you introduce me, I always say, as I live and breathe. I've always said it, so make sure, you know, it separates us as champions. I mean, there's just the knowledgeable champion and then the one who's, just, the what do we call it? The Intercontinental U.S. champion to my AEW
Hey,
Collision World Champion.
you can make all the claims you want, but I can imagine that there's some undisputed scholars who would take great issue with that statement. But I'll let them defend themselves to much to their delight. But like we were talking about, we have a whole lot of wrestling and wrestling news that we got to cover in this week in wrestling. So we're going to start covering it all in a little segment we like to call Backstage News.
Indeed, we shall once again go ahead and peek behind that curtain and just look around and be like, huh, it's definitely gotten a lot less crowded back here in this segment we call Backstage News.
News.
News,
News.
news.
People are getting fired. Meh.
Never ends.
It never ends. Unfortunately, it does not. But yes, like we were talking about, there's a lot of things happening, some good, some bad in this world of professional wrestling. First off, we had in the world of AEW, we did have a release, and we also had a new acquisition. Saraya, this week, only a couple of days as of this recording, has officially announced her departure or mutual departure from AEW, ready to go on a new book tour, talking around. Maybe, hopefully, she'll come to our neck of the woods for a signing.
Hmm.
So Saraya is leaving AEW, but Mina Shirakawa has officially signed with AEW full time. She's left Stardom, and she's going to be starting up with AEW full time. A lot of moving and shaking going on, but really, I have to say, I'm not too surprised by any of this. I'm just glad that Saraya personally did not bash AEW on her way out. And let's be real, Mina was pretty much going to be a lock sooner rather than later anyway. Gentlemen, your thoughts?
Oh, I can't wait to hear Pete because he's Soraya's number one fan. I'd love to hear his thoughts on Soraya leaving AEW. So go ahead, Pete. What you got on Soraya?
Thank you, Scholar Tarek, for
Or,
giving me that wonderful
oh
introduction.
man,
Uh,
just all the times you were just when we're off show and you're just talking about how much you're just are absolutely in love with Soraya. She just makes AJ Lee looks like a complete joke. I was like, Pete, I cannot believe my ears. I'm just hearing this. Especially how much you love AJ Lee, and you're talking about Saraya that's being uh the number one to AJ's number two. Oh my God, sir, sir.
Listen, all I know there is nobody like AJ Lee. And where it comes to Saraya, what can I say? British chicks be crazy. But I digress. Let me talk to you about her recent release at AEW. I mean, okay, great for her. Listen, she said in an interview I saw earlier today where she said, I was never looking to be the top dog, the main star. I wanted to help build the women's division here at AEW. And I think she did her job there. I mean, could it have been better? Absolutely. But I think with her with AEW giving her the platform which WWE at the time was not giving her because they didn't want her to wrestle because of health concerns, which as a uh, corporation, it makes sense as a juggernaut as WWE, it makes sense as a healthy type situation. But her going to AEW, being able to wrestle again, showing that she could still do it, similar to a Edge or Adam Copeland or Cope, whatever the fuck you want to call him now. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think this is good for her. Where now, with how WWE is in the grand scheme of things, if she would make a possible return, also like Jeff said to earlier, not bashing AEW, basically, like I said, just saying, hey, I was happy with helping out the mid talent. Like I'm taking my talents elsewhere. See if I'm going to write a book. All the best to her. Like I said, she's no AJ Lee, but best of luck in her future endeavors because look, I had no beef with her. I thought she'd do great in AEW. Best of luck, truly.
And not to mention, she makes your heart go doki doki, doesn't she? I
Listen,
rendered him speechless. I rendered him speechless. Gotta love it. All kidding aside, Tarek, what do you make of this release? Does it strike you as unusual? Did you see it coming? And what do you think of Mina Shirakawa? Does any of this shock you? Does it is it on par? What do you think?
Honestly, with Mina Shirakawa, I just butchered her name. But that, like you said, it's not surprising. Once she was leaving Stardom, it was like, oh, it's just a matter of time before she heads to AEW. Even though I wouldn't have been surprised if WWE got in contact with her to see if, oh, you want to just come to our neck of the woods, probably NXT. Um, but with Saraya, I was I'm not all that surprised considering I'm trying to think of the last time I saw her on any form of AEW television was I think she was at a house not a house show pre-show for a pay-per-view, and I think it was whichever one that Jamie Hayter came back. What I think it was in London at Wembley. Whichever show that was it All In or All Out?
I think it was that was another one of the all ins.
Yeah, and it was the pre-show, and Jamie Hayter came back to do a match with Saraya because London. Um, but yeah, that was the last time I remember seeing her on TV. I don't. She may have been on maybe a couple of collisions. I'm off the top of my head. I'm not sure, so I'm not all that surprised that she would that she would basically be like, okay, mutual agreement to part ways as friends. I like that. That's a proper way to go. And like you said, Fool, I hope she comes around our neck of the woods to do a book signing. I would go on that lickety split. And
Absolutely.
I just can't wait to see. I can't wait to see what she does post AEW. Could she go back to WWE? I don't see why not.
Yeah,
And with how
she'll
with
probably
the
make
interview
her way there eventually. Yeah.
with her praise that she did in her interview. So yeah, it's only a matter of time whether or not it's just going back to the main roster or going to NXT and doing something NXT's TNA related. Who knows? I'm looking forward to it. I'm glad that she was able to pull a Danielson and Copeland and come back at a possible career-threatening injury, even though they both her and Mercedes Moné said they would love to have done a interaction with one another and reference the injury that almost ended her career. But now it looks like that's just not going to happen. And oh well, it's is it a missed opportunity? Uh, Probably, but I'm not losing sleep over it, and I just can't wait to see what she does post AEW.
Listen, nobody's losing sleep over Mercedes Mounier. I assure you, sir.
CEO, CEO, CEO.
Oh God, just
Mm. He's a
The jokes will
Mandalorian,
never
apparently.
end. But anyway, elsewhere in the world of professional wrestling, some splits were not so amicable, as a lot of people were just recently fired this week from TNA of all places, including, for whatever reason, Gail Kim being counted among their number. Gail Kim, someone who has been long associated for years with the grand resurgence of the knockouts division in TNA, now taking a position of leadership and having one for some time. Now, due to from what I gather, a dispute between coworkers, and they both got fired, including Gail Kim. She is now gone from TNA. Two questions to you, gentlemen. What do you make of this? And where is she going?
I mean, she can obviously go anywhere. She is Gail Kim. What she did for the Knockouts division, what she did for TNA cannot be understated. I mean, she had great matches, whether it was with Awesome Kong, Taylor Wilds. Like, I'll name you some names. She worked with them all. And then, like you said, my tag team partner, Scholar Jeff. And then to go into the business, the backstage, and like just to have a working relationship, especially with TNA, not to be frank, like an organization that really like can hold talent for very long. Look at what happened with AJ. Look what happened with Samoa Joe. Like she was the longest like tenure person there at TNA, I feel like, and just for her just to be let go, like, and for a dispute, like it just something doesn't add up. Like you don't do this to Gail Kim, somebody who's paved the way for the women's wrestling, could put on a great match. I think she's gonna go back to WWE. I think she's gonna be in the Hall of Fame within a year. I think she'll be inducted without question. Like I wish the best for her, and what only good things I hope can happen to her because she deserves it. That's my thoughts on the Gail Kim. Scholar Tark.
I'm trying to look back on like her WWE run, and I'm just thinking, so her eliminating herself from a battle royal to make a statement to the people backstage is Hall of Fame worthy. But um, when it comes to Gail Kim, it was mainly her backstage roles that really impressed me more so than what she did in the ring. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from her. I'm just thinking, oh, I think she made more of an impact on me, no pun intended, um, of her basically helping the people backstage. Because unlike like you and Jeff, I wasn't that huge of a TNA fan, or at least I was a TNA fan, but I wasn't that much of a follower. So her her TNA run didn't really make an impact on me because I didn't watch it, and all I know was her stuff in WWE. So, and then it just everything that's everything that I've learned is exactly that, what I learned of what she did backstage, becoming just one of the really the big people to help the up and coming stars of TNA to really bring out their best. So with this firing, I can it was completely shocking, and with the like with her being a part of a whole series of firings, it just makes me question what the hell is going on with TNA. Are they? cutting some people out so they can actually sell TNA to like to TKO, or is this like what is their strategy in these firings? Because some of these firings are quite a big deal. I'm terrible with names, but there were like pretty substantial names, including Gail Kim's, that got fired from this from TNA, and I'm just going, what does this mean in the long run? What is this? What are they doing? So it's really such a shame to have basically release your first ever woman into the TNA Hall of Fame, but it just leaves more questions or whether or not TNA is actually going to do something big, like selling them the comp like having the company get sold to TKO and WWE, or what. So just like I said with Soraya and her, like intrigued of what her future endeavors are going to bring, I'm intrigued of what's going to happen with TNA the company with
Yeah,
these
I
big moves.
think my gut is telling me that they're prepping for a sale to WWE. The everything is ripe, or at least for TNA to become like a subsidiary of WWE somehow. But really, that's just what I think. But now, if I can put forth a scholar's quick talk real quick, now that Gail Kim is officially a free agent, where's she going to go next?
AEW.
I'm going to second
I,
that. I think they would be foolish if they didn't pick up someone like Gail Kim.
Tony
Build up
Khan got
the
that money.
Yeah, build up the women's division of AEW even further than it already is, because they're already killing it, but that will just be like chef's kiss.
Hmm.
I I third on that one going to AEW because that's one of even though the women's division is now really starting to make a mark on its own in AEW, one of the biggest criticisms was just the lack of depth in that women's division. And I actually think Gail Kim could actually be someone who could help really take out that shovel and add some depth to it. Like I said, they're out there. It's actually off to a good start this year with now Tony Storm moving past Mariah May, which there's now a question with Mariah May with her contract about to expire soon. Is she going to stick around in AEW? But that's a future question, which in all honesty, I don't think she's going anywhere.
Yeah, I don't think
But
there's too much debate there, especially since they've got Mina coming in on a much more permanent basis. I think the two of them are still in lockstep together.
yeah, I think
Plus
so
with the
too.
year that that she's had, like, yeah, she made a name for herself there. So I don't think she's going anywhere.
Yeah. So with that, now that you have like are now expanding the women's division, having someone like Gail Kim come in and help basically work the back, even if she could do some probably in ring work, maybe, but I could definitely see her now helping give story depth and character depth in the women's division, and finally start erasing that criticism that the AEW has had ever since the company first started, and that was the lack of women's division or lack of focus on the women's division.
For sure. Now, one last thing in the backstage news segment here. One thing that I personally have been following avidly is the series The Dark Side of the Ring. I know that's lately have how much have you been either of you gentlemen been watching this series lately?
Lately, not recently. I think I actually missed the entirety of last season, and maybe I've watched one episode, and that was around the same, and whatever that episode was around the same time of the Vince McMahon documentary came out on Netflix. I remember watching both those episodes or one show, one episode of Dark Side of the Ring. And I just remember like, God damn, I remember being hit hard and just thinking, "Damn, I need a drink." After watching this. But
Yeah.
I got to look up what episode that was. But I think that was the most recent I've actually watched anything Dark Side of the Ring because it's hard to find the free time, and I don't think I need to look up what channel Vice is, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I don't think very many people have Vice, but if you've got access to this series, it is definitely a must watch for any scholar of wrestling,
Oh,
of
absolutely.
whether
Hmm.
official or not. I personally, I've been following it since its inception. I love this show. This is the intro to season 6 that just started off this week. I have to admit, the last season, season 5, I thought was a little bit lacking. Like it had a feel of like, okay, maybe they're starting to run out of stories. There were a couple really good ones in every season at the bare minimum, but I felt like something was a little bit lacking in terms of content, in terms of like those really, really crazy, compelling stories like they had in the first few seasons. Those, looking at the lineup of episodes and just seeing the first episode of season 6, which was Mick Foley and Hell in a Cell, again, I had to watch the episode with my favorite wrestler of all time. And it does him justice. And it talks about a lot of it puts a couple things in a way that I didn't quite consider. But looking at some of the other topics that they're going to be covering this season, I think there's going to be a lot more meat to cover on this one. Uh, for instance, the next episode, upcoming next week on April 1st, we're gonna get Ludwig Borga, who is apparently just like a complete maniac. But later in the season, we're also going to be getting something on Tony Atlas, superstar Billy Graham, hot stuff Eddie Gilbert, Billy Jack Haynes, and now we're getting into these next three are I'm really excited about. The original Sheik, which again I've been a long time Sabu fan, so I gotta see this one. Daphne, they're gonna do an episode on Daphne, which is that one's gonna be a hard watch, I think. And
Yeah, as soon as you said Daphne, I'm like, ooh, this is gonna be that's gonna be one that they're gonna talk about.
the very last episode of season 6 is going to be Muhammad Hassan, which that one's gonna be rough, more, but not nearly in the same way. Especially
Oh,
after
that
seeing how everything that he's doing now and how good he is. That'll be a great way to cover out season 10, but or episode 10 of season 6, rather. Excuse me.
wow,
But
all I'm picturing is just like you know how they do those like reenactment and like in between each clip.
oh yes,
I just see them doing like the reenactment of just Davari being taken away by a bunch of masked men. That's gonna be like one of the big focal point of those of that episode.
and then you gotta get the slow motion shots of everyone like freaking out over the scandal, like slow
Like
motion panic.
we're just gonna slow mo audience members of those clips just going,
So here's I know not all of us have checked out the episodes, but here's another Scholar's Quick Talk. Is there a topic, past or present, that Dark Side of the Ring has done that you personally would love to see them cover?
that they haven't done. Okay.
Whether it's whether they've covered, if they have covered in the past and you just haven't seen it, or something you'd like to do in the future. Any particular scholars of wrestling, Dark Side of the Ring topic that you'd like to see them do?
I believe they have done an Eddie Guerrero one, if I am correct, right?
Yes, they have.
They haven't done an official Eddie Guerrero one. Eddie Guerrero's story was a part of the two-parter on Chris Benoit, which
I could have sworn.
honestly, in a weird
I
way,
guess that
is kind of the one of the better ones that they've done. But yeah, they could very easily have done an extended cut of Eddie Guerrero. The only one I personally can think of off the top of my head, the first one I can think of is Sabu.
Hmm.
That he hasn't he's been on the show a couple times. I think the closest we're going to get so far is probably the original Sheik. So, but I think that one I'm going to be really interested in as a Sabu fan, just to hear an extended cut of what his thoughts were about his uncle, who he clearly loved so much. How about you, Tarek? Any thoughts on any particular topics that you'd like to see them do?
Weirdly enough, I don't see anything going like to like extremes, like some like the one of the oh God, I just blanked out on the name of the flight that got Ric Flair in trouble, and the one with that got Mr. Perfect fired because of his fight
The
with
plane
Brock
ride,
Lesnar.
the plane ride from hell.
And right from, of course, I that simple, and I remember and I forgot about what the name was. I won't think it do. I won't think of anything. I can't think of anything like that extreme, or like what they do with like New Jack and all that, or Doink the Clown.
They did all
Um,
three of them.
oh, I'm just saying like the things I've been thinking of. I'm trying to think. I can't think of anything like that dark or that extreme, but for some reason, the first thing that came to my head was just, I guess, this WWECW and just the nightmare of like trying to rebuild what the original Extreme Championship Wrestling was, and just and it's leading to the nightmare that becomes December to Dismember.
Hmm.
Like, have it be something that's like not WWE produced, so they won't be able to be held back with saying the wrong thing, but just really just the actual situations that led to being having December to Dismember being one of the worst pay-per-views of all time.
That could be interesting if there's enough meat there. But as you said that, Tarek, it actually made me think of another potential topic that is a story on Test. And
Ooh, that,
he should have never died that soon. Obviously, he was juiced to the gills. Something must have been off there. And you could very easily
mm-hmm.
tie it into WWE CW, where he should have been brought up to the next level. He was right there, he was ready, and then in an instant it was gone. That seems so dark side of the ring coded to me.
And a part of me just also thinks of like Tough Enough and just like the dark stories that came out of that, like when with like Bill DeMott and Hardcore Holly just basically beating the shit out of these people up like unnecessarily.
That could be interesting too. Lord knows Maven has not been shy about talking about anything from that era.
Oh, I love all the stuff that Maven's been doing.
Yeah, go and I'm just happy to see him doing more stuff these days and getting good
Same.
sponsorships. Like, yeah, go Maven, go. But yeah, that is Dark Side of the Ring. I'm going to be watching every episode. Maybe I'll go back and give a bit of a review of the rest of the season when that wraps up, depending on what we
Hmm.
get. But yeah, that is enough for me for now, because now is the time where we need to introduce a brand new segment to the Scholars of Wrestling show. As you observed, our very own Scholar Pete, who declares himself the AEW Collision World Champion. Well, you know what? We figure now is the exact time to prove how much of a champion he really is. So we're going to pitch it over to Pete in a new segment I like to call the Collision Corner. Our champ, take it away. Tell us about AEW Collision.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Collision Corner, your one-stop entertainment for all things AEW Collision. If you're a fan of anything AEW, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel because we're about to get wild. I want to tell you guys what matches to expect on AEW Collision. And of course, I could tease you with the main event, and I think we're going to do that right now. Ladies and gentlemen, remember what the main event is. It is a contract signing for a hair versus hair match. Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Kurt Angle. Remember now, if Stone Cold loses, he has to trim the facial hair. Now, what will Kurt Angle do? But gotta stay tuned for AEW Collision to find out. Of course, our next match is a classic one indeed. Takes good old Bob back when coming out of retirement. And he's gonna face Money in the Bank. Reflection of Perfection. Mark Jindrak. Y'all remember?
You don't say. Mark Jindrak is coming out of retirement.
I'm telling you.
Holy
Oh,
schmoly.
let
What
me
a
tell you.
show.
Now, let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, let's get serious now. As the AEW Collision World Champion, I know what you're hearing is craziness because this is the non-stop action that you've come to expect. Of course, we have our last match. How could we forget about our special guest referee match? Of course, I'm talking about Juan Cena versus Randy Macho Man Savage with the special guest referee of none other than Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Oh!
Oh,
Now, ladies and
taking
gentlemen,
taking on the late great Macho Man Randy Savage. This show is so incredible it breaks the laws of time and space.
I mean, and you can see it every
AEW
week on
Collision, what have
Saturday.
you been you've been holding out on us, AEW Collision?
I'm saying, and you could see it every week on Saturday. Scholar Tark, I can't help but just to notice your fantastic appearance. What is your thought about AEW and, of course, Collision Corner?
It's okay. You don't have to
Uh,
hold anything back.
Daniel Garcia versus Adam Cole for the TNT title was fun.
That's not real. Get out of here. Come, we're trying to stay grounded in reality.
Listen,
Come on. This is a real TV show with real wrestlers and real wrestling matches. We're
as
trying to
true
keep it we're trying to keep the AEW Collision as a show grounded in reality. It's just all this talk about TNT championships, Daniel Garcia defending it against Adam Cole. No
listen,
one's
that's
gonna
it.
believe that.
Exactly. What they are going to believe is what I say. If I'm not the AEW Collision World Champion, you know what I say is true. And you know that everybody can't wait to watch the return of Too Cool. Yes, that's Grandmaster Sexay and Scotty Too Hottie versus, of course, you love them, you love them, the world's greatest tag team, Shelton Benjamin, Charlie Haas, in a ladders match. Only on AEW Collision. We'll see you Saturday. Back to you, Scholar Jeff.
Holy moly, free holies. This has got to be the greatest wrestling show in the history of the damn universe. Thank you so much. That was the Collision Corner. Great inaugural episode of the Collision Corner. Thank you very much, Scholar Pete. But now we're going to be turning our gaze to the rest of the world of professional wrestling and the rest of the TV shows that we got from the world of professional wrestling, starting off with WWE and Monday Night Raw, where it seems like a lot of the highlights from this week are the promos we got. Specifically, John
Oh,
Cena and the CM Punk promo, which we got later on in the show. Yes, Stark.
it's like you're gonna have to give me a minute. I'm still kind of just taken aback with what the hell just happened a few minutes ago, and
I know AEW Collision. Truly, this is a pro wrestling show like no other. I know. I totally understand.
uh,
You need some time to process all of the just how can a wrestling show be this jam packed and exciting week by week? It's a lot to take in. I know, But in terms of, so I'll take the reins for just a moment. If you just give our minds some time to collectively recover from the sheer amazingness that is AEW Collision.
Corner.
But AEW Collision and its follow-up show AEW Collision Corner, of course. But meanwhile, when we're looking at Raw, John Cena, his promo talking about, oh, I am going to ruin wrestling. I'm going to take the title and retire. I'm going to make Ric Flair irrelevant. You're going to think about me. You're not going to be thinking about him. Part of me loved that promo, but part of me seems like, okay, maybe he's laying it on pretty thick. It's almost like my brain is also trying to play catch up with this, where I'm still, my brain isn't fully comprehending that, okay, John Cena is a heel. What is can my brain even comprehend what John Cena as a heel looks like or sounds like? And just the idea of just, okay, I'm going to ruin wrestling. I'm going to ruin everything that you love. I don't know. I keep drifting back between either this is beautiful in a way I didn't expect, or in some ways I'm wondering, okay, maybe he's laying it on a little too thick. Let's pitch it back over to you. What did you think of John Cena's promo, and how well is he still doing it pretty well with
I,
as a heel or not? What do you think?
I mean, he made fun of the kid. I mean, how much more heel can you do? He called out the audience for basically putting this kid on blast of being a John Cena fan and then liking the video and basically being like, you guys are the reason like this got blown up. Like I basically like called this kid out and you guys are reposting it and tweeting about it and liking it. I mean, you got to know that he's having fun. Scholar Jeff, great question, great question. Do we think he's going crazy with this heel, with how he's going with Ric Flair? I mean, it's been announced that Ric Flair will be in Las Vegas at the WrestleMania show. That is confirmed now. So could they be doing an angle there? I mean, it's just it's to bring up it's all about the hype. WWE is going to be all about that hype train. And what that hype train is right now is John Cena, Mr. Hustle Loyalty Respect, selling his soul to The Rock to become the 17th time champion versus the good old boy, the man who defeated Roman Reigns, the tribal chief last year at WrestleMania, the one who completed his story, continuing fighting. That is cinema. That is what they are going for. So if you say, is he going too crazy on this? It's no. You have Superman versus Lex Luger here, and we're seeing that play out. And come WrestleMania, who comes out? Does does um does John Cena have Cody Rhodes kryptonite? Is he gonna put him down and become a 17-time champion? I don't know, but I'm invested in that match.
I've got my own predictions about what's going to happen, but I'm going to save those for our official prediction show for WrestleMania. Full, what did you make of John Cena's promo, and what do you make of how he's on the trajectory he's on right now?
I actually really like the promo that John Cena put on. It's a good, best way to put it, it's a good sequel to his initial "You People" promo that was just getting such high praise from us and throughout most of the wrestling community last week. Um, I believe we have like two or three more shows before WrestleMania because I believe WrestleMania is in the middle of April this year. Um, and there's reports saying that this next episode of Raw is going to be Cena's last episode of Raw for a while. So I guess the big criticism that I have, and I'm when I've looked up, I'm not the only one, is I'm now ready for Cody to actually really do more than just come in, say, be all happy and cheery, and then just starts talking a little bit to the guy that almost just messed him up at Elimination Chamber. Um, I'm just now looking forward to when did John Cena make this deal with The Rock to sell his soul? Because he got the world title match. Why did he need to sell his soul to? But I guess we'll just get more of that when the continue we have this build for WrestleMania. So it's just more waiting for the answers. And it's another one of those like I'm kind of sick of it's like I keep getting cliffhangers and I just want to just keep getting more. I don't want to just have to keep waiting week after week after week. I want to just binge watch the whole thing, just so I can actually get an idea and actually give a real uh, criticism or praise that this storyline is deserving. I mean, it's still one of the most it's it's probably the most intriguing storyline going into WrestleMania because I'm trying to look at what matches are confirmed now, and it's not exactly the most this is the most hype WrestleMania of all time, unlike how it was for 39 and 40. But I'm still intrigued. It's just not as like I haven't gotten that WrestleMania feel yet. Maybe I'll feel that way when it's actually closer to Mania, but when it comes to like the build for WrestleMania, I definitely felt it more earlier this year than where I'm at now. And hopefully with the weeks coming in, we can actually get that fire in me to go. It's WrestleMania, baby. Woo! So
Yeah, for
I don't know if
sure.
that's just something on my end on just how I'm
Oh
feeling
no.
about how lackluster this build has been feeling for me.
Oh
But
no, you're definitely not alone. I had that same feeling, but again, compared to where I was last year, again, I'm super biased since I was actually able to go in person, and I definitely felt the same where there's it granted 40 is going to go down as one of the all-time greatest WrestleManias ever, but this one is just yeah, there's definitely it's not matching the same tempo as last year did. But yeah, I'm also glad to hear you say that because I was a little like, okay, I know I'm biased. I know this. I wasn't sure if I was the only one, and you said it. the The crew of Busted Open said it. So okay, it's good to know. Yeah, it's definitely not just me. Pete, do
I
you have
just
that feeling too?
I just wish that just the matches don't feel important. I think that's the thing that's getting me. They don't feel like they're WrestleMania matches. The only two that actually feel like WrestleMania matches is probably Cena and Rhodes and the three-way build that for Punk, Roman, and Seth. And even that still is not exactly the most perfect build. I mean, they also it's for them to try and build something from them starting it at Royal Rumble to where we're at. I just you're basically have like one where Roman comes in to interfere, and then you got Punk and Seth cutting promos saying, "Oh, I'm just here to promote SmackDown." So again, the only two matches that feel like WrestleMania matches to me are those two matches of Cena and Rhodes and the triple threat. But just the build has just been lackluster. That yeah, we probably are going to have a great Mania, but it just doesn't feel like we're going to have a great Mania.
Yeah, and like when you mentioned CM Punk too, his promo is another one that is the other one that stuck out with me from this past Raw, where can tell that he's trying to build it up. He's trying, obviously, that's his job.
Oh,
But
he did a better job than Seth last week.
even so, he made that one little side comment like, "Oh, some things never change. I work with children." Blah blah blah. Promo promo promo. And like, obviously, this was a shot at AEW. I'm like, come on, can't you just let it
Do,
go? Like, that's. That's not
Did we
helping
really need
anything.
that?
We did not. We absolutely did not. I'm like, that killed a lot more of the hype in my mind for this triple threat. Like you were right. This triple threat should be a star-studded event match. Like I should be feeling more hype about it than I am, but Punk just has to run his mouth again, and I'm just like, nope, I'm just checked out all the more. I don't care what else you do. It's just like, man, that was completely uncalled for, and you're killing my vibe. You're killing my vibe, Punk. Pete, say something cool and interesting so I can stop being upset about Punk.
To add on to you, gentlemen, is this a WrestleMania feeling right now? It's not, but I think that's just because we're weeks away. I think this will get better as the weeks get on, but there is no doubt in my mind that the two main events are Cena and Rhodes and the triple threat, of course. When it comes to the CM Punk promo with the AEW, he did that for the quick little, reaction from the audience, the cheap little pop. Was it necessarily needed? Absolutely not. But Punk right now is trying to build up this feud when, like Scholar Tarek said earlier, Seth Rollins is not doing his part, and you have Roman Reigns again not showing up as much just because that part-time schedule, no disrespect. He's earned that time with Heyman, and building up when Roman comes, it's like a Cena, it's a event. So the nice thing is where they're going between Raw and SmackDown, I feel like the triple threat will get better and better if they keep doing between the Raw and SmackDown. And the same thing with Cena and Rhodes. I think what we're forgetting too is like you have Braun versus Penta as a potential coming up match. You had the thing with Dom, like you have that brewing. Like we're weeks away, and I feel like this WrestleMania is starting to build. I feel like it's a Tiffy time, and Charlotte, needs to flush out. I think the Bianca, Sky, and Rhea like is as good as it's gonna be. Like I feel like now that's just doing a dead horse. So right now, I think if we come back to us in 2 weeks and we have a conversation where WrestleMania is, I think it will be a much different conversation. I think we'll be much more excited by the prospects of this WrestleMania. But in closing, to add what Scholar Jeff said, of course, being at WrestleMania, having those moments that's going to be a WrestleMania, that's going to be a WrestleMania that goes down as one of the all-time greats, like you said. Like it's going to be hard to come to WrestleMania 41 and deliver. And right now, with your two hypothetically main events in night one with the triple threat, night two with Cena Cody, like, okay, these are established, but bring everybody up to this moniker. Make it so it's every match is on the card that you're like, man, I got to see that. What's going on? Like, what's going on with Jay and Gunther? Like, get me invested. This is not investing me. Get me invested.
All
You
it does
actually,
is, oh,
you go
I'm
ahead,
sorry,
Phil.
you go. All like the Jay and Gunther thing is actually the most infuriating part for me because I think about just Gunther's last two WrestleMania matches, and they felt like WrestleMania matches. They actually had some great build from the triple threat match with Drew McIntyre and Sheamus to facing Sami Zayn last year. Um, but I'm just, yeah, this Jey Uso storyline, I am just not vibing with it at all. I I'm just hating the idea of them giving both Usos moments of just like, oh, Jay's gonna win the world title and Jimmy's gonna win the US title off of LA Knight. And I'm just going, you have both champions that I actually want them to stay as champions, and you're just giving the Usos singles titles. I, I don't know. It just doesn't feel. It just didn't doesn't feel natural to me.
Doesn't feel
Like
oozy.
no, not at all. Not no. There's no Usi about it. I mean, shit, man. Sammy's not there because he's selling the KO story. Honestly, I think Sami Zayn would actually be a good thing for the Jey Uso storyline, being the first person on the main roster to actually pin Gunther. So, have continuing with the Rocky storyline from last year of Jay being of Sammy now being Jay's oh shit, what is the trainer in Rocky's name? And
Mickey.
Mickey, thank you. Jeez, I really am terrible with names. It's not a gimmick. I really suck with names. Um, like having Sammy be Jay Uso's Mickey for the person who knows how to beat Gunther because he did do it. There's only two people that actually have pinned Gunther in his whole main roster run, and that's Cody and Sammy. And now that they're now adding the story of Jay Uso like legit botching last week and now making it part of the story, I'm just going, man, this sucks. I'm sorry. I'm hating this storyline. Gunther deserves a much better world title match. But hey, just so you can get the moment of the WrestleMania crowd yeeting. Because that's what it's all about. Really. Even, even with new man, even with new creative, WWE didn't change. I was just like, oh, we just want the moments because uh,
Yeah. It is a
Jay
fun
and
moment to be
Jimmy's
a part of, but yeah, there's limited
Jay.
capacity there.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, Jay won his first singles title match like a couple months ago, and it barely lasted 2 weeks. And then he lost the world heavyweight championship match to Gunther, and all of a sudden he wins the Royal Rumble and gets a rematch with Gunther. And I'm just going, that's what you want. That's what you want is your world heavyweight championship build. Come on, man. Again, my biggest criticism with the world heavyweight title is that it's each week it's just losing the prestige of what it's supposed to be. And Gunther is holding it. The man who basically took my favorite title but he took it from at a point where people were saying it was one of the most irrelevant titles, and now look what he did with it. Why can't is it really that hard to do the same with this one? And having him just lose it after trying to build up the momentum back that he lost during his day since losing to Cody at whatever, what was it? Not Crown Jewel. Wait, was it Crown Jewel?
Hmm.
The one where Cody and Gunther fought for the Saudi Arabia belt? Was that Crown Jewel?
It must have been Crown Jewel then, I guess.
I think yeah, I think they actually called it the Crown Jewel Championship. But it's like ever since that loss, it's like, oh, the momentum really slowed down for Gunther's world title reign. It's like, oh, he finally got out of that Judgment Day massacre, and now we're here, and now you're adding in two tag teams that are basically like in the lowest of low of rankings with uh, Alpha Academy and A Town Down Under. Okay, we reunited the Usos, and now Jimmy's a part of the storyline, and he slaps the shit out of Gunther. So now we get a one-on-one match. Cool.
And Jimmy's gonna die.
And Jimmy's gonna die just so we can find a way to make this more personal.
Yeah,
Yay.
This is Rocky 3 right now. This is Rocky 3. Oh wait, no, this is Rocky 4. Rocky 3 was Clubber Lang, excuse me. Rocky 4 was Ivan Drago, and then
I pity the fool who
yeah.
messes up my Rocky movies.
I pity myself for getting it wrong. I love those movies. But anyway, you did bring up one very important thing to note, Pete, that we still have at least we still have a few more full weeks for them to bring things full circle and bring the hype levels up where they need to be, which is not something we can say for AEW Dynamite because we are only about a week away from Dynasty, and now things are really banging on all cylinders on the AEW side, including the recent segment between MJF and the Hurt Syndicate, where it seemed like we were getting MJF wanting to accept the offer of MVP. But then Bobby Lashley takes the business card, tears it up, and just gets all up in MJF's grill. And I gotta say, MJF versus Bobby Lashley is one of those matches where I didn't ever think I'd ever see it. But man, do I want to see it now. Now that you put the bug in my ear, I really want to see MJF versus Bobby Lashley. What I want to know from you guys is, are we really getting that, or is that just going to be a tease and we're going to keep MJF as a heel partner in the Hurt Syndicate?
I'm more curious on just on they have been discussing. They had the stage segment afterwards where they're discussing that they're trying to to recruit a fourth member. Hmm. And who
Yeah,
just
I
recently had a
wonder.
who had a recent interview with Chris Van Vliet about possibly going to AEW to finish some business. Hmm.
I don't know.
Maybe.
I think his name might rhyme with Eric Salamander.
That's the part I'm looking forward to. But when it comes to the MJF storyline, I do like the fact that Bobby actually looked to Shelton as confirmation. It's kind of like, do you want him in? And Shelton's just like, no. I like that it's just like, okay, two two-thirds vote him no. And we have the possibility of an MJF versus Hurt Syndicate storyline, which could possibly have lead to some interesting matches. We'll get like an MJF versus Shelton Benjamin, MJF versus Bobby Lashley. Um, will MJF actually cost Bobby and Shelton the tag team championships against uh who was it? Big Bill and
Brian Keith.
Brian Keith. Thank you. Like, will he cost them the tag titles
For a
with that
second
one?
there, I was about to call him Toby Keith. I'm like, no,
That's
very no.
imagine.
I do love
Um,
country singer.
Sidebar on Brian Keith. I walked past him during WrestleCon at WrestleMania weekend last year. The guy smokes a lot of weed, and he was even
I'm
talking
not
like,
surprised.
"Yeah, ever since AEW signed me, my indie rates have gone up. It's been great." Then he smelled like weed all weekend. But anyway, continue.
Good for him. Will they be involved with the storyline now? Will they actually team up with MJF to do some kind of trios match? Could possibly bring in Cedric Alexander or just have it be MVP. But those are the intriguing. I actually am very intrigued of where they could go with that one. Uh, from that to uh, the promo between Swerve and Moxley was really fun. It's just like this isn't the Moxley I know. This is the Moxley. This Moxley is too afraid to stand up for a fight. He's hiding behind Claudio, Wheeler Yuta, and Pac. Uh, and I the visual of messed up my hair there. The visual of Claudio automatically showing up behind Nana as kind of like a mob boss type of ordeal was a really fun image. Um, I would say that after that promo, way more interested in that world title match than I ever had with Mox versus Cope. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think what else. What else happened on Dynamite Kick that was just really getting me actually looking forward to Dynasty.
Well, for me, there was only one other thing of real note that really hooked me, and that was the ongoing saga of Timeless Tony Storm versus Megan Bayne. Because this week we got a tag match. We've got Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford taking on the team of Thunder Rosa and Timeless Tony Storm. which of
Was it
course were
Thunder Tits?
the great team called Thunder Tits. Like,
I love it.
oh, I don't
I
know
love
where
Tony
all of
Storm.
this Tony Storm is really. I'm going to say it right now. Not only does she have my pick for match of the year, she's my pick for wrestler of the year, male or female, full stop. Like, damn, damn, damn.
Seriously, she's had a great, awesome year, and it's something I've talked about earlier with the Gail Kim story. I'm love that now she's interacting more with the roster, and she's starting to expand it. And then because she was stuck with Mariah May for so long, it felt like that was its own separate storyline. And then there's the rest of the women's locker room. I'm glad that we're actually getting Tony Storm involved with all these other characters to the point where I'm just like, all right, I'm still not sold on Megan Bain, but I she did very well in this match, and pinning Tony Storm, that's making a statement.
Oh yes, indeed. This is kind of paint by numbers, but you know what? I'm liking all the ladies involved, and this is just it. It's giving me what I want, and it. I expect that my mind isn't going to be blown all the time, but this is just it's what I want to see, and it's good women's wrestling, and it's what I want to see. Again, this is another one where I think the outcome is going to be expected, but it's the execution as going to more than deliver. Pete, what do you think of how this feud between Megan Bain and Timeless Tony Storm is progressing?
Well, it's hard to talk about the enemy when you are the AEW Collision World Champion, but like you boys, just to touch up a little bit on the MJF and Mr. MVP segment, I like what's going on there. Like you gentlemen said, I think it could be greatness from Shelton Benjamin versus MJF. I think Shelton Benjamin's a fantastic athlete. I always enjoy his work. Bobby Lashley. It's like you said, Scholar Jeff. Who'd have thunk it? Not me, Bobby Lashley versus MJF, but now kind of want to see the grounds, the pits, and the people. But I digress. Um, Moving on to, of course, the tag team. I mean, it's like you gentlemen said. I love me some Thunder Rosa. Who doesn't? And with Timeless Tony Storm and working with all these other female wrestlers, especially getting to work with Megan Bain and trying to, like Scholar Tark say, sell me on her. You know, get that win on Timeless Tony Storm, make it so she is a player in a tag team match, which I like. It's not a perfect one-on-one, but it's something where hey, like, and where could this story go? Where could it go into Dynasty? I mean, the possibilities here, like Jeff said at the top of our AEW Dynamite review, have been just on a roller coaster. While WWE going into WrestleMania season is very flat because we're just approaching that incline. I feel like AEW's at the top of the roller coaster, and Dynasty is when we're about to have that drop. And I think we're just chugging up this roller coaster, and it's just I think next week's AEW Dynamite and I think AEW Collision is going to be just a top tier show for AEW going in to this big event for them. Their WrestleMania for right now, because that's right around the time.
Indeed, it is. Indeed, it is. And frankly, this has been another week of promos, but I've been digging everything that we've been seeing, especially leading up to it. But again, we're not quite there yet. But like we talked about, this past week of professional wrestling. But now is where we turn it over to you, our fellow fans. What was your promo of the week this week? What was your match of the week? Where's your hype level at for WrestleMania and Dynasty going forward? And where's Gail Kim going to wind up? Is she going to wind up anywhere at all? No matter what you think, we want to hear about, we want to hear from you all across the internet, wherever we are. We want you to be there too. YouTube comments, Facebook posts, Instagrams, and our personal favorite, the Twitter machines. where you can join in the conversation with all of us individually. Fool, where can they reach you?
You can reach me at the Avatar.
And Scholar Pete, where can they reach you?
Of course, they can reach me over at the Twitter machine at Improv Pete, defending the good old AEW Collision World Championship. And see you next week for some more Collision Corner.
Very good stuff. And you can catch me joining the conversation at I'm Robbie Rage. And for all of these relevant social media links and much, much more, check out our Scholars of Wrestling link tree in the description below. That's linktree/Scholars of Wrestling. That was a mouthful. And with that, we are going to bow out for this week. We're going to be back next week as all of these hype trains continue rolling on for the next big shows that are in the world of professional wrestling. You know that already because you know who we are. We are the Scholars of Wrestling, and you have just been schooled. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
See you all for the road to WrestleMania continues on.